TITV Weekly has another special report, Project Report, which gives you in-depth coverage on important issues and traditions. This week on Project Report, let's take a deeper look at the impact traditional culture and way of life clashing with government regulations. It's no longer a crime for the indigenous people to carry hunting guns, but the misinterpretation of the law still leads to many hunters being prosecuted on firearms-related charges. Where is the hunter's dignity? Let's find out more on Project Report.
Makal menanua kuna tu yinsumi tu hangkai tu batu kakanopi nama kata igmayon ba makat tagilulun tu bununa jadulunat minuni kacuyan ta ba na sepui oba pantu sepui konun amin tulum konun tulum mamatay dagat nito maktung sebandi ba makabasang anak-anak pun maun mahay pa minunin cuy pa tisuni tu nito waktu kasa cuy ukay langya cuy makalupar ka amakabun na nito waktu tu paun tu nito kanopi nanot siyatat iskaw tu pikya ka ukay tu kumakun.
Bunus Tian lost his job in Taipei due to the economic downturn and returned to his community last year looking for opportunities. Between odd jobs, he would go hunting in the mountains. In March, during the hunting trip with his cousin, Tian slipped and accidentally shot himself. At first, he thought it was simply a hunting accident. But later, he was prosecuted for violating the statute for controlling firearms, ammunition, and weapons.
When I received my first subpoena, I thought I would just go and explain the situation. But when I went the second time, I realized that things weren't as simple as I thought. I was later informed that the prosecutor, or judge, wanted my gun. It's not the old homemade gun. They said it was a modified gun, and they wanted it examined by the Ministry of the Interior. When the results came back, they said the Ministry of the Interior declared it a modified gun and not a homemade gun. In regard to the firearms regulation and exonerating indigenous people of owning guns, I think the statute is pretty clear. It states that indigenous people who make or own hunting guns will not be prosecuted. They will only be fined.
They say indigenous people who make, transport, or possess homemade hunting guns without authorization will not face prosecution, but can be fined up to 20,000 for failing to register the firearms with authorities. However, Tian was still indicted for violating the statute for controlling firearms, ammunition, and weapons. Tian spent 6 months fighting in court and was finally declared not guilty by the Namto District Court.
Mr. Tian is indigenous. According to Article 20 in the current statute for controlling firearms, ammunition and weapons, indigenous people who need to hunt for livelihood or cultural and traditional reasons are allowed to make their own hunting guns. However, they must register the firearms with authorities and can only possess them after gaining permission. But if they fail to register the guns, they will not face prosecution.
There are many cases that are similar to Tian's case. However, every prosecutor and judge has his own interpretation and understanding of the law.
Some judges define a homemade gun as one that we stuff explosives and pieces of paper into the barrel first, before we insert the bullets. But as technology advances, our indigenous people have improved their gun-making skills, and they no longer make those types of old guns. The guns are now more sophisticated, but they're used for the same old reasons, for hunting. Many indigenous who use homemade guns hurt themselves when hunting. So I think the law should be amended to state the specifications of the hunting guns so they can use safe weapons and to hunt with permits.
Attorney Yang said most indigenous involved in firearms-related lawsuits were given the not guilty verdict. In addition, he said there hasn't been a case of indigenous people attacking or hurting others with hunting guns. He added that indigenous people mainly use hunting guns as a tool. Chief Judge Huang said the Ministry of Interior's traditional hunting gun order handed down in 1998, in fact, is in conflict with the law. The traditional way of life of many indigenous people are still restricted by laws and regulations, while the defendants of most cases were given the not guilty verdict. The years they had spent in court still took a toll on their lives. Attorneys say the rules governing indigenous people's right to firearms should be clarified to help avoid unnecessary persecutions.
Local courts are split on the interpretation of bullet possession. Some say because bullet possession doesn't fall under the amendment, it should not be punishable by law. Others claim since you are not penalised for hunting gun possession, bullet possession should not carry a penalty. In order to avoid debates, bullet possession should be listed in the law so that indigenous people with homemade guns and bullets will not be prosecuted. This way the law will be clearer and more complete.
On June 2, 2004, the Legislative Yuan approved the amendment of Article 20 of the Statute for Controlling Firearms, Ammunition and Weapons. The amendment required authorities to advise indigenous people and fishermen to apply for firearm permits. But is the government responsibly carrying out its duties? TITV Weekly.